Motion pictures and videotapes are protected by copyright. Infringement done willfully may result in fine or imprisonment. So enjoy the tape, show your friends, but if they want a copy, let them buy their own.
Here comes Kelly Rudy leading the Kings onto the ice, and this building will erupt. It's starting to already. The Kings come onto the ice for Game 7.
From the historic announcement of Wayne Gretzky's trade to Los Angeles on August 9th until the final handshakes 8 months later, the 1988-89 Kings made believers of sports fans in Los Angeles. For 21 years, hockey had been one of the city's best-kept secrets, but finally in 1989, the Kings arrived. In August, most Angelenos are out at the beach. But on August 9th, 1988, more than 200 members of the media and those special fans who had heard the unbelievable rumors turned out for one of the most historic press conferences in the history of sports.
Now to go to the reason you all came, to introduce our new team colors. And let's see, isn't that? And let's see, I think we have a model here somewhere for the new colors. I'm not sure. What do you think? Wayne and Janet Gretzky.
I just got drafted.
Where'd you go, Wayne? What number you got?
Here, I'll help you on this. I'm back. My life.
It's very exciting to be here. It's something that I think will not only be good for Wayne Gretzky and the LA Kings, but I think a move that will be beneficial to the game of hockey. Mr. McNall and Mr. Vachon and Dr. Jerry Buss, who originated this deal, I understand, a couple years ago, have worked an awful lot of hours and put in an awful lot of time to make the deal possible. Mr. McNall, I know, hasn't slept the last couple of months. He's been working tremendously hard. I'm happy to be here. I hope that I can contribute and help the LA Kings and help make this team successful. And thank everyone for coming, and I hope to see you all at a lot of hockey games this season. Thank you very much.
Suddenly, in the middle of summer, everyone was talking hockey. And while Gretzky settled down in his new home, the Kings began to prepare for a new season. In Victoria, the Kings first realized that they were no longer anonymous. Hundreds of fans showed up at normally empty practice rinks just to watch Wayne Gretzky and the rest of the team work out. Everywhere the Kings went, hockey fever spread. In Oakland and Sacramento, tickets sold out just hours after it was announced that the Kings were going to play exhibition games. Hockey excitement grew in Los Angeles. 3 days before the opener, Kings owner Bruce McNall pulled out all the stops and threw a party for the Kings at Chasen's in Beverly Hills, the kind of party that's made Hollywood famous. The next morning, the Kings held their annual golf tournament, and even that now drew national notice. Hockey Night in Canada sent out an entire crew just to do a story on Gretzky. With everything in place, the Kings were ready for their historic opening night, the first opening night sellout in Kings history.
1988-89 Los Angeles Kings. Welcome the captain, number 18, right wing, Dave Taylor. Number 9, center, Bernie Nichols. Number 20, Luke Robitaille. They called it the trade of the century. August 9th, 1988. The holder of 49 NHL records, number 99, Wayne Gretzky. Ladies and gentlemen, your 1988-89 Los Angeles Kings.
Everyone wondered who would score the historic first goal in the new team colors.
Nichols now to Taylor, to Gretzky, and he scores! Wayne Gretzky gets the first King goal of the new season in the Kings. In his first shot on goal tonight, Taylor gives it to Wayne Gretzky after Nichols got it to Taylor. Taylor on the left side fed it right over to Wayne Gretzky. And the game is tied 1-1.
Later, Bernie Nichols scored the first of his record-setting 70 goals, and Luc Robitaille finished with an opening night hat trick as the Kings beat the Red Wings 8-2. Following their opening night victory, the Kings won 2 straight overtime games, then added a 4th consecutive win at home before finally losing their first game. But the Kings were on their way. 2 weeks into the season came the first big game, the return to Edmonton for Wayne Gretzky and his first game in the Northlands Coliseum as a member of the Kings.
And their reaction is starting right now as Wayne Gretzky and the rest of his King teammates step out onto the ice here at the Northlands Coliseum. And the fans are rising to their feet in a standing tribute to Wayne Gretzky.
That was very emotional. You know, the night I got traded and the first game was all very emotional. But that evening itself, I guess, was when everything really sunk in that I had been traded. And here I was playing against them in Edmonton, and it was a weird feeling because all those guys that I played with and fought with and done everything to win with, now I'm against. So it was difficult.
Many players contributed to the Kings' success. Luc Robitaille earned his 3rd straight berth on the NHL All-Star team with another strong offensive season. With a nickname like Lucky, goals are bound to come in bunches. Veteran John Tonelli came to the Kings as a free agent from the Calgary Flames. With the Kings, Tonelli showed the emotion and enthusiasm that helped him win 4 straight Stanley Cups with the New York Islanders.
If I had to describe myself, I'm an emotional player, and I have to go out on the ice and overachieve. You know, I wasn't born with an abundance of talent, so I've got to work hard and go out on the ice and overachieve. And when you know that there's confidence behind you, then you go out there and do it with confidence.
Another confident player was Bernie Nichols, who exploded for 70 goals. Only 4 players in NHL history scored more goals in a season than Nichols did with the Kings in 1989. His 70 shattered the old team record of 59 set by Marcel Dion. Steve Duchesne was another player who had a career year in 1989 with 25 goals, most ever in a season by a Kings defenseman. Captain Dave Taylor had another strong season for the Kings, scoring timely goals for the team and providing leadership both on and off the ice. Taylor saw that for the first time in his career, people have discovered the Kings.
It doesn't matter whether we play at home or we go on the road to play. I mean, it's a mob of people following us everywhere. Going out to the bus is always, you know, a couple of hundred kids waiting around the bus, and that wasn't always the case. And it's a little different, and it's something that we're not really used to it, at least the players that had been in Los Angeles for a few years, but something we certainly enjoy.
Along with Wayne Gretzky from Edmonton, the Kings also got center Mike Krushelnyski. Mike had a solid season with strong play at both ends of the ice. But the biggest name for the Kings in the scoring department was Wayne Gretzky. Gretzky set new Kings records for most assists and total points in a season. He passed 250 former Kings on the team's all-time scoring list, and also moved farther up the NHL's all-time scoring list. In January, he passed Marcel Dion for second place and finished the season just 13 points behind Gordie Howe, the NHL's all-time leader. For Gretzky, it was another spectacular season. But for Kings fans, it was pure magic. With Gretzky, Nichols, and Robitaille, the Kings had 3 of the league's top scorers. But they had 3 of the league leaders in another department, too. Marty McSorley, Jay Miller, and Ken Baumgartner all were among the NHL's penalty minute leaders in 1989. And though they look tough, there's usually method to their madness.
I think the team needs it. I think that you need guys on the lines that are going to go in and be dominating physically. Going to go into the corners, and everybody's going to know they're on the ice. Go into the corners and going to get the puck, irregardless. Going to go in front of the net and stir the pot a little bit. Get in front of your own net and look after things. And I think that's a big asset for a hockey team. I think that it benefits every line that it's on, and it's a comforting effect on the guys that aren't that way on the hockey club, and our team needs that right now. That's up my alley.
The Kings made a lot of noise on the ice in 1989, but they also touched people off the ice. Many Kings helped in the community by working with kids and involving themselves with charities. In December, the team had a great day in New York, where they hosted a hockey clinic for youngsters in Harlem. One of the most memorable nights of the '89 season took place at Lowry's California Center, where the Kings and their fans raised $80,000 for life. Love is feeding everyone. It took real team effort, and the LA fans proved themselves to be humanitarian all-stars. There were also several Kings who were all-stars during the mid-season classic. Steve Duchesne, Bernie Nichols, and Luc Robitaille all made an appearance. But once again, Wayne Gretzky was the big story. He returned to Edmonton as an all-star with the Kings. As the center of attention, he was brilliant. His introduction turned into a 75-second standing ovation. During his first shift in the first minute of play, he set up former teammate Yari Curry. 3 minutes later, he scored one himself. Later, he helped Robitaille get a goal. And after the game, it was no surprise when number 99 was named All-Star MVP. It was a memorable homecoming for Gretzky and the last breather for the Kings before the playoff stretch drive. Going into the final months of the season, the Kings were still looking to improve the team. General manager Rogie Vachon swung a trade with Boston for 2 Bruins. Jay Miller, who added muscle on the wing, and veteran Steve Kasper, one of the top defensive players in the NHL. Then another big trade took place in late February when the Kings acquired one of the top goalies in the National Hockey League, Kelly Hrudey. With Hrudey on board, the Kings moved up a notch among the NHL's elite teams.
Olsen moving in. Olsen stops, shoots, save. Kelly Rooney. He pokes it ahead to Gretzky. Here come the Kings. Gretzky to center. Gretzky across the line, left side. He shoots, he scores!
With Rudy and Gretzky leading the way, the Kings closed in on a playoff spot. The Calgary Flames were on their way to the best record in the entire league, so the Kings and Oilers were left to fight it out for second place. Everyone knew there was going to be a first-round showdown between the Kings and Oilers, but who would finish in second place and gain the important home ice advantage? Most experts figured a Kings-Oilers series would go 7 games, and both teams wanted Game 7, if there was to be one, on their own home ice. So the Kings and Oilers spent the last 3 weeks fighting for second place and home ice advantage. On March 12th, the Oilers were in second place with a 2-point lead over the Kings. But that night, John Tonelli broke a tie in the third period. Then Mike Krushelnyski scored the game winner against his former teammates as the Kings won 6-3 to put them in a tie for second with the Oilers. 2 weeks later, they were still tied for second when they met again at the Forum. The Kings took 24 shots in the first period alone. 2 by Bernie Nichols went in, and the Kings were on their way to a 4-2 win. The Kings took over second place and pushed the Oilers into third. Later that week, a 2-1 overtime win over Winnipeg clinched second place for the Kings and guaranteed them home ice advantage when the playoffs opened a week later against the Oilers. It had been a long season for the Kings with many new players added during the year. The team had barely enough time to get to know each other, and now they would be fully tested in the playoffs against the defending Stanley Cup champions. The series opened in an unseasonably hot Los Angeles. The 100-degree temperature was a surprise to all, but there was a bigger surprise when the players came onto the ice. Starting opposite Grant Fuhr wasn't Kelly Rudy, but Glenn Healy. Healy hadn't played regularly in months, but Rudy had developed a severe case of the flu, so Healy had no choice but to step in. The Kings took the lead just a minute into the game.
Down the left side across the blue line. Checked along the boards. It comes back to Nichols. Left point. He shoots. Tipped and score! Chris Kontos! Chris Kontos tipped in the shot by Bernie Nichols. And the Kings have jumped off to a lead.
Chris Kontos had joined the Kings in March as a free agent after returning from a season in Switzerland. He would go on to make a name for himself during the 1989 playoffs. Just minutes after Kontos' goal, the Kings had another great chance when Igor Liba had an open net. The missed opportunity would have put them up 2-0. After that, Grant Fuhr got stronger while the Oilers hammered away at Glenn Healy. Healy played an inspired game that night as a backup without a backup. Kelly Rudy was at the game, but too sick to sit on the bench. No one watching the game, the Oilers, the fans, or even the news media, knew that Glenn Healy was nearly as sick as Rudy. It was only weeks later that Healy admitted how sick he really had been that night.
They tried to keep everything low-key from the press, but it was a difficult night. It was intravenous between periods, hospital before, hospital after, so it was a tough situation for me to be in. I hadn't eaten in about 3 days. I felt horrible. The weather was 105. I had a temperature of 102, so pretty much there really couldn't be anything else that could have went wrong that night.
The Kings took a 3-2 lead early in the third period and were trying to hold on. But Esa Tikkanen tied the score with just 4 minutes left. Then Craig Simpson came back and scored the winner a minute later.
Anderson in the slot. Anderson over the right side scores!
The Oilers took the lead in the series, but the Kings' toughest enemy, the flu bug, had passed through the team, and the healthier Kings could now prepare for Game 2. The next night, Kelly Rudy was back, and the Kings dominated, outshooting the Oilers 44-22. Chris Kontos continued to surprise everyone, scoring his first career hat trick to lead the Kings to a 5-2 win, to even things up in the series at 1 game apiece. The series moved to Edmonton for Games 3 and 4. The Kings had a great chance right off the opening faceoff, but Grant Fuhr stopped Gretzky.
Gretzky in front alone. He shoots.
Then late in the first, the Oilers struck for 2 quick goals just 16 seconds apart. That was all Fuhr needed, leading the Oilers to a 4-0 win and a 2-1 lead in the series. The next night, the Oilers grabbed a 2-1 lead after the first period when Chris Contos struck again.
Up the middle, Nichols shoots, save, rebound, score! The Kings, Chris Contos, with his 5th goal of a playoff series. Chris Contos ties the game.
After Contos tied it, the Kings came alive at both ends of the rink before finally taking the lead late in the second period.
Kruziniski passing in deep to Gretzky. Gretzky rolled it in front, tipped away, up the middle. Laidlaw, right side. Laidlaw with it, shoots, and scores! Tom Laidlaw from a steep angle on the right side put it in. And the Kings get their first lead of the night, 3-2.
But the Oilers came back to tie it at 3 early in the third, while the Kings tried to hold on as time ran out.
Into the Kings zone. Messier, right side, driving, shooting, save, rebound, Smith, score!
The winning goal came with just 26 seconds left in regulation, and the Kings' Cinderella season seemed near an end, trailing 3-1 to the defending Stanley Cup champs. The teams headed back south, hoping for a miracle Hollywood finish. Kings fans turned up the volume to inspire the team before the opening face-off, and the Kings even got a word of encouragement from the Gipper himself, who was in town but unable to attend the game. The Kings outshot the Oilers 15-7 in the first period and opened the scoring with another goal from the surprise player of the series.
Kruziniski had it tipped away. Gretzky in front. Contos, he scores!
A goal by Bernie Nichols in the second kept the Kings' hopes alive, but the Oilers had owned the Stanley Cup for 4 of the last 5 years, and they weren't about to have it taken away. A power play goal put them back in the game.
Again down the right side, Tullio shot, and the score by Anderson on the left wing.
Luke Robitaille came right back to make it 3-1 for the Kings, but the Oilers kept the pressure on Kelly Hrudey as time ran out in the second period.
The Oilers with it with 12 seconds to go in the second period. Pass up the right side. Now the King line down the middle. McTavish in front of the line. He shoots. Saved by Kelly Hrudey. Oh, with 6 seconds to go in the period, Hrudey makes a save on McTavish. Now another save at the buzzer by Hrudey with the crowd roaring.
In the third period, the Kings tried to open the lead, but Fuhr was sensational. And at the other end of the rink, the Oilers were firing away, but Kelly Hrudey kept making the big saves.
With Laidlaw up to Nichols. Nichols against the left wing boards, taken away. Shot saved by Hrudey. Shot in the middle by Simpson. Down the left point. Shot save Hrudey. Rebound in front. Messier shoots. Save Hrudey. And he covers up in front of the net.
Finally, with just 4 minutes left in the game, the Oilers scored to cut the lead to 3-2. As the clock ticked away in the final minutes, the action went end to end.
Here's Lowe. Lowe coming up toward his own blue line. Gretzky, McSorley out for the Kings. Pass on the left side. Messier gets checked by Kruziniski. Gretzky with it. Gretzky can't clear it up the middle. Steve Smith, his shot blocked. Kings with it. Here is Waters to Gretzky. Gretzky on a break. He shoots and he scores!
The Kings held on for a 4-2 win to keep their hopes alive, but they still trailed in the series 3-2. The Oilers still held a big advantage, needing only one more victory and playing in front of the home crowd. Just 30 seconds into Game 6, the Oilers scored to take a 1-0 lead and put the Kings on the brink of elimination. Early in the second, it looked like the Kings had tied the game, but referee Bill McCrary ruled that the Kings batted the puck in with a high stick. The replay showed that the Oilers had knocked the puck into their own net. The Kings lost the argument, but kept pressing the attack. Late in the period, with the pressure on, Mike Allison scored one of the biggest goals in Kings history.
Casper down the right side, check there, but he gets it to Allison. Allison trying to get around Greg. Allison still reaching out, trying to kick it behind the net. Allison still with it, wrap around, he scores! Oh, what an effort by Mike Allison to tie the game at 1.
You said it, Bob. A tremendous effort by Mike Allison as he was fending off one of the Oilers with his left arm. He lost his left glove in doing so and just muscled himself out front. It was Randy Gregg that was trying to slow up Allison. He had him along the boards, but Allison wasn't going to quit. He comes out, finally gets his left hand on the stick for some leverage and balance, and puts it in between the pads of Grant Fuhr.
With the game tied 1-1, Kelly Rudy kept the Oilers off the board. Then early in the final period, Dave Taylor set up defenseman Jim Weimer to give the Kings a 2-1 lead. 4 minutes later, Chris Contos scored his 7th goal of the playoffs, setting a new club record.
Here is Gretzky, right side. Gretzky pass in front, score! Kings have scored from the left side, Chris Contos, and that sets a club record, and the Kings lead 3-1.
Later, Luc Robitaille put the game away, and the Kings celebrated a 4-1 win to force a 7th and deciding game in Los Angeles. In the 72-year history of the NHL's Stanley Cup playoffs, only 5 teams had ever come back to win a playoff series after trailing 3-1. And now the Kings were trying to become one of those rare miracle teams. With the entire city of Los Angeles behind them, the Kings and the Oilers squared off in the 7th and deciding game.
Side and over on the right side, Marty McSorley with Waters and Laidlaw back. Oilers at their own blue line. The puck comes up the center, taken away by Waters. He flips it back into the Oilers zone. Jay Miller with a check there. The puck comes to McSorley at the King line, or at the Oiler line, excuse me. He gets knocked down, and the puck comes all the way back in the King zone. Behind the King net, Kelly Rudy puts it up on the glass. It comes down. Glenn Anderson, the Oilers knocked it down along the right wing boards. Now a check thrown on Anderson. Puck is taken by the Oilers in the corner. Here's Messier, right wing side. He's checked there. Laidlaw and Messier. Now the puck to Glenn Anderson. Anderson to the Oilers. Send it toward the net. Kelly Rudy stops it there. Puck taken by Waters for the Kings. Up ahead now to Miller. Now to center. Here's Gretzky with McSorley. Gretzky, left side. Gretzky shoots and he scores!
The Oilers came back 4 minutes later to tie the game at 1. But the amazing Chris Contos struck again to give the Kings the lead.
Gretzky comes to the blue line and gives it to Duchesne. His pass to Contos. Contos to Gretzky. Gretzky over to Nichols. Over in front, and fanning on it was Casper. Just under his stick. Gretzky checked along the boards, but Contos digs it out to Casper. Back to Contos. Contos up the middle. Duchesne with it. Left side to Nichols. Nichols shoots. Score! It's a power play goal for the Kings. It deflected in front of the net. It may have hit Contos and gone in. Nichols got the shot, and the Kings lead 2-1.
Chris Contos was just off to the left. The shot by Bernie Nichols is going wide, and it hits Contos right on the outside of the right glove and goes in. Second angle on the simulcast. Left side of your screen now. Watch Contos. He comes into the picture right here, and the puck goes right off perhaps the right side of his hockey pants and into the net.
Up the middle it comes to Duchesne. Duchesne to Nichols.
With the Kings firing away, Grant Fuhr made a series of brilliant saves that kept the Oilers in the game. The Kings outshot the Oilers 16-8 in the first period, but held only a 2-1 lead. The Oilers had a power play as the second period began, and Craig Simpson scored to tie the game at 2. The tie lasted just a few minutes.
The game tied 2-2. Taylor into the Oilers zone. Taylor to the right wing. Taylor being checked into the boards there. He gets help from Robitaille. Robitaille checked from behind. Taylor with it. Taylor right side. Taylor still with it. Taylor into the corner. Taylor gave it to Nichols. He shoots. He scores! Set it up. Taylor on the right side got it to Nichols on the left, and the Kings lead 3-2.
The Kings had the lead, but again the Oilers came right back to tie the game at 3. Kings fans cheered the team on and also took time to wish a happy birthday to owner Bruce McNall. McNall wanted just one gift for his birthday, and he got it a few minutes later when the Kings had a two-man advantage with 4 minutes left in the period.
Casper to Gretzky. Gretzky at the right point. Gretzky in front to Nichols. He scored! What a goal by Bernie Nichols! Bernie Nichols gets his second of the period. Gretzky fed it in front. Nichols stick handle tripped over the goaltender and tucked it inside the goalpost. And the Kings lead 4-3.
Nichols' goal ignited the fans and fired up the Oilers, who mounted a furious attack at Kelly Hrudey in the last minute of the period.
Simpson again shoots, and another save by Hrudey, flat on his back. Cutting in front was Simpson. And Simpson on the backhander got stopped by the stick of Hrudey. With Hrudey down, Simpson with it again. Left side, he waited, and with a glove outstretched and flat on his back, Kelly Hrudey made the save.
The Kings nursed the 4-3 lead into the final period, and Kelly Hrudey continued to stop everything thrown his way.
Just goes wide to the left goal post. Again a block shot.
With the crowd cheering them on, the Kings got a power play with 5 minutes left in the period.
Sent it behind the Oiler net and tried to roll it in front to Robitaille, tipped away. Robitaille over to Nichols. Nichols left side, back to the blue line to DeGray. Score!
But a 5-3 lead wasn't enough. The Oilers continued to fire away. The Kings threw everything they had in front of the puck when Tim Waters was called for holding with 2:41 left in the game. The Oilers had their final chance. They had the power play and also pulled goalie Grant Fuhr to give them a two-man advantage at one end and an empty net at the other. After 87 games during the season, it came down to the final 2.5 minutes.
Net is empty. Messier, top of the right side, moves it left side. Here is Curry shooting wide. Rebound off the boards and out to center ice. Carson back to get it. 2:22 to go, third period. Oilers down by 2. They've got a two-man advantage, but their net is empty. Here is Tikkanen down the right side of the Kings zone. He drives it down in deep. Kennedy back to get it. He's checked hard into the boards. Tikkanen pokes it over behind the net. Huddy drops it off, then gets it back. Huddy to the blue line to Curry. Curry back to Huddy left side, now to Curry. Curry top of the slot over to Carson. Back to Curry. Curry top of the slot, moves it left side to Messier. Messier checked by Duguay. Now the middle to Curry. Curry right side. Shot is blocked by Kennedy. The shot by Tikkanen. 1:49 to go, third period. Tikkanen right side. Tikkanen waits. Pass in deep to Huddy. Fanned on it. Saved by Hrudey. 1:43 to go, third period. Kings 5, Oilers 3. A minute 2 to go in the King penalty. The Oiler net is wide open, so in effect, they've got a two-man advantage. Steve Casper out, he'll take the draw against Messier. Kings with a 2-goal lead, and on the draw, Kings with it, not cleared. Now it is cleared. Here's Gretzky with an empty net. Gretzky, he shoots, he scores! Gretzky's empty net shorthanded goal, 6-3. The Kings will meet the Calgary Flames in the next series, starting in Calgary Tuesday night. Now the crowd's counting it down. 7 seconds and the Oiler reign is over. 3, 2. The game is over. The Kings advance.
Following the win over the Oilers, the Kings began the second round against the Calgary Flames, the NHL's best team during the regular season. The Kings had leads twice in Game 1, but the Flames came back to tie the game. Finally, Doug Gilmour scored at 7:47 of sudden death to give the Flames the win. The overtime win by the Flames, their second consecutive playoff overtime victory, gave them a strong boost. Their momentum carried them past the Kings in 4 straight games and took them all the way to their first Stanley Cup championship. The Kings season ended in late April, almost 9 months after it began with the biggest trade in sports history. During the regular season, exhibition, and playoffs, the Kings played 100 games and won the hearts of new fans both in Los Angeles and across the continent. With the players they acquired and the excitement they generated, April 1989 wasn't the end for the Kings, it was really just the beginning.
And now, Elizabeth, the winner of the Hart Memorial. Swami, you want to read it with me?
No, you read it. I'm too nervous.
Are you?
Come on.
No question.
Who else?
My friend Wayne Gretzky.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was criticized a little bit by some of my friends that when I did Saturday Night Live that I rocked a lot. So I decided that I'm going to try to stand still for this, even though I'm more nervous right now than I was when I did Saturday Night Live. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of the other award winners, but more importantly, I want to congratulate all the nominees. I think that as great as an honor it is to win, sometimes it's even tougher for the nominees to be sitting out there. I want to congratulate those people, especially to Stevie, of course, and to Mario. I want to thank the writers. The writers have been always great to me over my career, and they're the people who picked this award, and I want to thank them an awful lot. I want to thank my teammates, and I want to thank the fans of Los Angeles. I'd like to thank the training staff and the office staff. I want to thank Mr. Vachon and the coaching staff. Most importantly, I want to thank Mr. McNall. He's been great to me, and I wish I could have his name on here. Sorry. To my family, my daughter, she's watching in California tonight, so I know she's only 6 months old. But to my parents,